Same thing with doing a spell. People want to do a spell for a perfect mate, but then they don't like having anybody around. So you have to be open and receptive to having that person in your life, warts and all, because they're not going to be without their humanness when they come, and you have to be willing to receive that energy as it comes, rather than it's like Jesus said, you can't put new wine in old bottles. You have to be receptive to the new energy, which means that your receptacle has to be gracious enough to be to hold that energy. So there is a little meditation. I think it's only 10 or 15 minutes long at the most, about being more receptive to that which you want. In addition to the meditation, it's just a good thing to be contemplating that's where I think where a lot of the old ideas of doing sacrifice came. A lot of people think that in order to get something with magic, you have to sacrifice. And what that means is that you can't get something for nothing. And in order to get wealthy, you have to give up your poverty mentality. In order to have companionship, you have to give up your loneliness mentality, because those mentalities are habit patterns. So those are things that we work on during the waning moon, definitely. But then we have to remember that vacuum has to stay intact when we are working in the waxing moon. We can't just go back into our old ways of living. We have to gently and lovingly remind ourselves that things are good now, that we don't have to go back into and mess things up. We don't have to sabotage things. We're going to do a little bit more on that the last week. Okay. Any questions so far? Boy, I hope some people have some questions, because I really am going to be down to the nubs in a minute here, because I don't want to go into next week too much.
Hi, I'll ask another question.
Please.
It's Linda again.
Hi.
Hello?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe it's more of a comment and not totally a question, but
Okay.
I've been working with the mirror magic, and it seemed like when I was first doing it, my face would look really weird in it, and it seems like that stopped. I guess I was just wondering if you've heard of people having that experience before. I'm not too worried about it, but
yes. Yes, because you're using, remember, the mirror is a portal into the other world. And that's why I want you doing things with dimly lit candlelights or dimly soft lit light, because any reflective surface has for ages been a doorway into another world. Alice Through the Looking Glass, the wishing wells, all of that. Any kind of reflective surface. So the mirror is not you looking at yourself in this world, it's you looking at your deep mind, how you exist in the other world. And that's why I like to, for this particular exercise, I like, if you're using a name, and I encourage you to do it, I like you to speak in the second person, not in the first person, because you're talking directly to your deep mind. And I like you to use the name that you were called when you were a child, because the deep mind is often identifies with this particular life in this incarnation. It often identifies with what was established within the first 4 to 5 years of life. So your magical name could be what you are using as the person talking to the deep mind. But sorry if you can hear me. Yeah. But the deep mind in this case is going to be going by your name as a child. So when you have that mirror in front of you and you start working with that, you're going to notice that your face can sometimes look very different. It can start to look like an old woman or an old man. It can start looking like a baby. It can start looking like some kind of goddess. It can start changing race. It can change gender, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine, and that's good because remember your deep mind is connected with the universal mind. So the more that you do this kind of work, you can later on, and we're not going to be doing that so much in this module, but you can actually use the mirror more than just what we're doing now, which is finding your own personal power for affecting change. But you can use the mirror to access other people, other lifetimes, other dimensions. You can use it to access gods and goddesses, spirits. You can use it to access angels. But I wouldn't work with that right now because in order to do that, I would prepare the mirror a little differently than what we're doing here. I would prepare it differently. For now, what you're doing, you're perfectly safe. It's a very safe exercise because you are talking to your deep mind in a state of semi-trance, and you're telling it what you want it to know, and that is you are a beautiful, powerful person, and you deserve to have everything you desire. I love you and I approve of you right now exactly the way you are. And the more you do that, the more it's going to say, okay, well then therefore I better get on this magic stuff and make sure that we get what you're wanting. Because I'm a beautiful, powerful person and I deserve to have what I desire. You love me and approve of me just the way I am. So therefore, we're a team. We're doing this. If you don't do that kind of work, and it doesn't have to be the exact way that I give it, but if you don't do this kind of work, this deep kind of work on a regular basis, especially in the beginning couple years of working magic, your magic can get very bizarre. You can get some really weird results because you say again with the money spell, you're wanting to do a money to pay off all your debts, and well, that's fine. Your deep mind might say, okay, we can do this, but I'm an ugly person. I don't deserve to have this. Therefore, something bad has to happen to me. You know? So you're going to get some conflict. But if you start working like this right away, your deep mind is much more in tune with who you really are, rather than some bizarre roles that you chose based on decisions you made probably many, many years ago that you don't even remember. And we're going to deal with this even more on the last week. As we get into the next waning moon, we're going to have an even deeper experience of this. Okay. Any other questions? Oh, and somebody was talking, that was very important that somebody said, I don't remember who it was on the board, on the discussion board, that it felt silly because it reminded her of Stuart Smalley, and this is not uncommon of, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. That people start doing this mirror work and they think, oh gosh, this is so silly. And they'll start laughing and stuff like that, which it's good to go through that. The difference is that we're not talking in the first person. We're talking in the second person. We're not talking to your personality. We're talking to your deep mind. Who does the magic for you, that does all of that makes the change happen. It's the feminine, childlike part of not childlike, but child mind, not childish, but the powerful magical child within you, and the embarrassment and the silliness and the wanting to laugh is very, very profound because it is that part of you that's wanting to resist this. So my recommendation is that when you come up against that, is to acknowledge that that's happening. It's not that you're doing something wrong. It's actually that you're doing something right, because you're actually breaking through some of those barriers in a gentle, loving, peaceful way that had been holding you back for so long. So if it feels silly, laugh. That's fine. You can laugh while you're doing any magic. Laughter is fine. It's not disrespectful to laugh if you feel so inclined. I think that's where sometimes the image of the cackling old witch, has gotten debased. It's just that witches tend to have a good time. We tend to laugh. We tend to be gleeful when we are doing our magic. And if you start laughing, that's a good sign. Let it happen. All right. Anybody else?
Hi, Ariel.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hi, Juno here. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Good.
I just wanted to say that I just love the mirror exercise. I can really feel the energy moving while I'm doing it, and I can almost feel the power growing already, even if I've been doing it just for a few days now. But the other thing is that you was talking about spinning one's wheels before.
Mm-hmm.
And what I noticed in my work, I've done a banishing spell with the sun and then an attracting spell for the sun today. I've noticed that the negative thoughts have decreased dramatically, which is a huge thing for me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. And how do you notice that manifesting? Just in your attitude, or do you notice anything circumstantially, or with just things in your life? Do you notice any changes yet?
For the time being, just in my attitude, but it is huge all the same.
Oh yeah.
I've noticed that I come home from work. I'm very tired usually because it's very demanding work, and I do my exercises, and I'm very much more relaxed in the evening, which is very, very good for me. This was not so until a couple of weeks ago.
That's wonderful, though. I just see, because when you start having those manifestations come out in just your attitude, your point of view, your perspective, your overall energy level, sometimes that's almost even more powerful than the manifestations of the things. But it's also usually an indication that the things are materializing. It's usually a really good indication, sort of like when you're you just sort of like you get that little light right before the sun comes up in the morning. Just like a little hint of the sunrise before all the pretty colors. It's what it is, and I think it's wonderful. So that's great.
Oh, thank you. So I'm waiting for the other manifestations, of course.
Okay, and make sure that you get really clear on what you want those to be. Very, very clear. And if you're not getting what you want, you need to become more firm about it. You don't take no for an answer from the universe. Okay. You can do it gently and lovingly, but you have to keep kind of demanding in a positive way of your deep mind. Okay, I'm glad that we've got it's great that we have the great attitude, but now I want the money or whatever it is, So, and just keep at it, because it's very important not to become satisfied with, a lot of times people say, well, as long as I'm happy, it doesn't matter about the other stuff. Well, okay, that's fine, but the other stuff is important too, and there's nothing wrong with having what you want. There's nothing wrong with that. So if it's not coming, it's either on its way, because it hasn't been that long yet. It's probably on its way. But if it's not manifesting after a few weeks, then you need to just go in and do more of the writing exercises about what maybe some of your mental blocks are, like the waning moon flips, those kind of things. And also just being a little bit more gentle but firm with with your deep mind that I want an actual manifestation.
Okay, I'll do that.
Okay, good.
Thanks for the advice.
Sure. Okay. Who else? Somebody that feels a little braver now that that we're among friends. Maybe people that don't always talk, that want to say something. Oh, the difference. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Hello? Is that somebody?
Yep. Hold on. My thing's okay.
Oh, hi.
Hi, Puck. How's it going?
Hi. Good. How are you? I'm
doing great. I had a question related to the attraction spell that we're working on.
Yes.
In the aspect of it that we are writing down in a very detailed way what we would like to see manifest in our life, I find myself being slightly resistant because I always think of it as like, I'm writing down what I would like, but there might be something better that I don't understand. You know what I mean? That the universe can see for me.
Right.
And so I am always hesitant to be extremely detailed because what if I don't know what I really want or what's best for me?
Right. So that's very important to understand. But at the same time, the way magic seems to work, and I've only been doing it for a few decades, so I've still got lots to learn. But what tends to happen, especially when you're working on the level that we are working in this particular class, the way that we're working with our orb of light every day, we're doing our mirror exercises every day, we're doing a lot of spiritual purification as a result, especially if you're still doing any of the primer stuff, which I recommend you do. It's almost a given, although you can state in your spell this or something better according to the highest good of all. You can state it. But it's always a given that we are open and receptive to it manifesting in the highest way possible. So I always say, in an easy and relaxed manner, in a healthy and positive ways, for the highest good of all. That's what I say. And I'm, and absolutely, and almost, it's almost always either exactly what I wanted or something better. But if it's something less than what I wanted, I don't accept it. I say, okay, it's nothing personal, universe. It's like sending your food back if it's not cooked to your liking. It's nothing personal, but this is not what I asked for. So I'm really happy if it's something better, but I won't accept something worse. And usually it's not the universe that's the problem. It's usually your own sense of self-worth that's at the issue.
Right.
So if you do your part, your deep mind will do its part. Your deep mind has access to stuff that you don't even understand. The ability for your deep mind to keep your heart beating and your and the energy over the synapses and all of that stuff is just scratching the surface of what the deep mind can do for you. And it's, like I said, connected to the universal mind. It's connected to all your past lives. It's connected to, if you believe in that, it's connected to the mind of every person. It's connected to the spirit world. It's connected to photosynthesis. It's connected to all that stuff. So it knows how to get it working. Now, if you plant nasturtiums and you get marigolds, you go back to the nursery and you say, "Excuse me, I got the wrong seeds, and I would like the nasturtiums, please." And there's nothing wrong with that. You're not hurting anybody's feelings. You might have been the one that made the mistake. You might have accidentally picked up the nasturtium packet. The marigold packet accidentally, right? Mm-hmm. But if you plant marigolds and you get the most beautiful marigolds that you didn't even know were possible, you're not going to say, "Oh, no, I wanted my little fakakta icky marigolds that I was used to." You're going to be happy with that. You're going to be very happy with that. So within the realm of what you want, it's really not that you're going to get, if you plant an acorn, that you're going to get a fig tree. It's that you're going to get a really good oak tree. You're going to get the healthiest oak tree possible. You're going to have an oak tree that grows bigger than you ever dreamed. It's going to be so much better than you imagined, but it's not going to be something completely else.
Right. Okay. So writing down the details actually is important.
It is, because it's planting your seeds. It's doing your work. It's tilling the soil. It's planting the seeds. It's watering. It's doing all of your work. And the more you work it, the more you put into this stuff, the more you're going to get out of it. The gardener that really goes for it and uses the finest soil, the finest seeds, gets in there and weeds the garden and takes care of their garden, is going to have a much nicer garden than the person who throws a bunch of seeds in there and hopes for the best.
Got it.
Yeah.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Good, sure. All right, who else? There was something else I wanted to say, but now I forgot what it was. Must not have been important. We've got about at least 10 more minutes that I don't want to end the call too soon. So please ask or share if you have anything, because I can riff for 10 minutes. I definitely can. I am not at a loss for words. Yes. Yes. Who's this?
This is Rose.
Hi.
Hi. I'm wondering what happens. This is the 4th week, and then there's 2 more, and then I don't want it to not be anymore. So what's the deal?
I know. I don't know yet. I don't know. I know I'm going to do a little prosperity magic thing that's just going to be 2, maybe 3 weeks, just in the interim before I can start another 6-week course. But I don't actually have a date yet for that next 6-week course, because I'm still waiting to get my schedules in for my other work that I do. So I don't want to commit to something that I'm going to have to cancel or reschedule, because I like to, once I schedule something, I like to really make sure I commit to doing it. So I'm going to try to get a little couple 2-3 weeks of something in May, and then I'm thinking that we'll do another 6-week thing in the summer, but I don't have the dates yet.
Okay.
And then I'm hoping to do at least 3, maybe 4 modules of this Beyond the Basics class, and then maybe from there we can go on to other things if people are interested. But the Beyond the Basics, just working on this stuff, this kind of practical magic stuff.
Yes. So I like it a lot, and I struggle with being able to be self-disciplined enough to halfway keep up. But I don't care, because I'm doing the best I can, and it's helping a lot. So
yeah, I love it too. I really look forward to my Sundays with all of you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, well, Hi. That's great. No, thanks for asking. That's a great question on it. I am thinking about it. I just can't commit to dates until I get some more data on my end of things.
Okay.
But there definitely will be more.
Can I ask you something that's not even connected to what we're working on?
Of course.
It's about pot. I'm sort of old.
About pot 61. Or pot? Did you say pot?
Pot. Marijuana.
Marijuana, yes. Okay.
Yeah. And I grew up with marijuana, and I heard you say on some podcast, it made me laugh. You talked about going to the gym instead of going to the gym, just walking around in a muscle suit. And I liked that, and it made sense to me. But then also I thought, just because, I don't know, my relationship with that, whatever, that's when I'm walking around, that's when everyone is speaking to me. That's when all the trees are talking to me, and all the plants are talking to me. And all
you mean
when
you're high, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And not even high, but just like a pop. And then just through the doorway to where I'm just so connected, and I feel so happy in it.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, I don't even think think about going to the gym until I get into that.
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain
Well,
what I'm saying.
I understand. I don't think that pot is a bad thing. I think it's actually a spirit. I think there's a spirit that lives in all plants, and marijuana is definitely a gift that was given to this earth. Just like all psychedelic drugs that are natural, the psilocybin, all of that, peyote, all of those things are very, very sacred. Tobacco, very sacred. However, there is people that use tobacco casually are then misusing it, so they have a price to pay for that. And I think that using pot casually can be problematic for many people, because I think that I think it's here for a purpose, and I think it needs to be taken sacramentally, and it needs to be taken very sparingly, just like anything. I think that medicinally, that's different. When it's, I would much rather somebody use marijuana than a lot of these toxic chemicals. Absolutely. But as far as, because I used to smoke a lot of pot too. I mean, I'll be very honest that I loved it back in the day. And I loved it for music, and I loved all of that stuff. And finally, what I noticed was that my ability to, like you were saying, to work magically and creatively wasn't as good when I wasn't smoking pot. And I also noticed when I was smoking pot that my mind was more prone to wandering. So I was not able to focus. And so I remembered that. And it's been a while since I've indulged in that particular substance, but I remember saying, I'm going to do 4 times a year on the Sabbats. Those are the only times that I'm going to indulge. After the ritual, when we are doing our our fellowship, that's when I'm going to have it. Unless there is some specific, need for it. And I noticed that when I did that, it became much more sacred. My mind started getting much more focused. I got much more into meditation, real meditation, not like zoning out, being stoned, but real meditation. And I noticed that when I did that the times I was using the marijuana, it was much more meaningful and much more sacred and much more special. And also, I noticed that after a while, I was, interestingly, without conscious effort on my part, I was able to make some choices even on those 4 Sabbats of saying, I don't think I'm going to do that this time. I'm going to just hang out with everybody without that. And then I would do it the next time. And I liked having that variety, so that it wasn't like, oh, here's a Sabbath, time to get stoned, So I think, I don't think that it's a bad thing. Nobody's ever died of a pot overdose that I know of. I don't have a problem with it. I personally don't have a problem with marijuana use at all. But I have noticed that my magic is a lot more efficient now that I don't use it very often. And and when I say very often, for me, that's like it's been years since I've done it. But I'm also not like an ex-user. I mean, I would use it again. I definitely would. I don't have any problem with it. But that's just my 2 cents. I find that people's minds are more focused if they don't use it on a regular basis, and that their magic is more effective if they don't use it on a regular basis, and that I think you can find a lot of the what you're finding with the pot, as far as like the joy and the happiness and all of that other stuff that you're talking about, you can find it in meditative ways, And as you get used to the kind of work we're doing and doing it on a regular basis, you'll notice that you're constantly very high without being stoned. So you don't have the drug side of it. So, but again, I wouldn't say that you shouldn't do it. I wouldn't say that you shouldn't do it, but I would reconsider it as being necessary for you to have those states. All right. Who else? We do. I mean, I can be here till 5 if you guys have any other questions. I'm not rushing us to get off the call. So I do want to make sure that if you have questions that we answer them. No? Okay. Well, I think this is going to be a wonderful week for everybody. You're going to have your first big planetary attraction spell using this particular method, and maybe you'll even experiment with your spell board. I definitely want you to work with at least one incantation that it has to do with your spell that you're working on this week. How can you keep what from happening? Oh, my husband says it opens him up to it, makes him easier for him to connect. He has more of a logical mind, and this takes away his ego. I didn't find it helpful for me, so I leave it alone. It's okay. I mean, I don't have a problem with people using pot. I really don't. It's a personal thing. If you notice that you can't function without it, that's an addictive kind of behavior that you have to look at. And that's the thing I would be careful of is if it's a take it or leave it kind of thing and you enjoy it every so often, so what? It's great. But if it's something that you need to smoke every day, that's probably just like any other substance, not the highest way of living your life, and it's definitely going to hinder your magical abilities. People that say they can smoke pot and work magic, I'm leery of that because I haven't seen evidence of it too much. As far as I know a lot of people that smoke pot do some creative work pretty well, and I know that for me it worked well if I was doing a lot of musical compositions. I noticed that, but it would take me 5 times as long to get through one because my mind wouldn't focus. So.
Ariel?
Yeah.
It's Andrea, or Gypsy, I'm sorry.
Oh, hi.
I've just noticed that I think what Hannah was getting after was that she mentioned that when she raises her energy and vibrations, she gets really tired, and she was wondering how she could keep it from happening and if she'll get used to it.
Okay, so after you raise your energy, you get really tired. Are you getting enough sleep every night? Are you getting 7 or 8 hours of sleep each night? Or is it because you smoke too much pot? No, I'm just joking. I swear that was just joking. If you're not getting enough sleep, that could be something that you need to look at, because you do need to be well rested to work magic. If you're still getting very tired after you're raising the energy, is it just even with just the orb of light, or is it with the cone of power? I'm not sure. If it's with the orb of light, just go more gently with it. Just do everything more gently. Do everything with less gusto for a while. See if that helps. But if I have a feeling you may need more sleep. So be aware of that, and also be aware of your nutrition. Make sure that you're getting that you're eating well, that you're eating the right foods for your body, and drinking enough water, especially with magic. Remember, water is necessary. Being well hydrated is probably more necessary for people who work magic than anybody else, because it does. We are working with lunar energies, and we need to be well hydrated. Oh, there you are. Shoot. Oh, thanks, Daniel. No, just cone of power. I need to get more sleep. Okay. Okay, yeah. Try getting more sleep and see if that helps. Otherwise, it may just be that you're not used to that much energy, and it may regulate itself after doing it a few more times. Sometimes it's more than than what maybe you're used to using. So yeah, but we don't want you feeling drained. We definitely don't want you feeling, nothing should be uncomfortable. But sometimes, just like with any exercise, at first it's like, whoa. But then after you do it a few times, your body gets used to it too. And that could be part of it. Okay, anybody else? I'm going to talk about pot some more. No, just joking. I love how I keep bringing everything back to pot. Well,
I have a quick question.
Yes,
Ariel.
sure.
Yeah, this is Ayla, and
Hey.
I'm working on the things I want to manifest, and I have several things that really are within my sphere of influence.
Mm-hmm.
I do keep feeling myself kind of drawn back to one that really, it doesn't rank as high in my sphere of influence. It's more like a 5 and not up there, more towards a 7 or 8. And I guess I'm not sure how to, and I'm going to concentrate on something that is more in my sphere of influence for now. But I was just kind of wondering, do you just kind of wait until things are more in your sphere of influence?
Well, you might also, if you're really being drawn to it, it may be more in your sphere of influence than you think, too. Sometimes, I can't remember who it was that was talking earlier. I'm sorry, I can't remember everybody's name, but the lady that had her credit fixed, and she thought that was way beyond her sphere of influence. It's sometimes it's closer than you think. So you do sometimes really need to honor if you're really being drawn to something, then maybe that's what you need to work on. Even though logically it doesn't make sense. So, again, these are guidelines, not laws. The only reason why I'm giving you these guidelines to follow is because I don't want people going for things that are so far out of what they think is possible that they get failure, and they don't, and because that can start to discourage you from thinking that your magic is working. But if you're really drawn to something, you might want to try it. And again, that's a cool thing about waxing moon magic is you can do more than one thing. So you might want to try something in your sphere and then something that's a little bit more of a stretch. And then also the way that you deal with the lower sphere of influence things is that they have to be higher in your desire level. So the higher the desire, the easier it is to dip farther out into the sphere. So yes, all of that's true. Your sphere of influence will start increasing almost immediately after your first success. You'll notice that things seem a lot more possible. And also things that are a little bit farther out, as long as your desire is higher up on toward the 10, then you might have enough energy to actually to draw that into your life. Do I have any advice for people trying to follow a magical path that have mental illness? Yeah, it depends on the mental illness, and it depends on what your therapist says, because a lot of what we do is dealing with altered states from deep meditational work, and they may or may not be compatible with you. I don't know. I've seen people on both sides of the fence. I've seen people with mental illness that it's just been wonderful for, and I've seen other people that it's kind of thrown them over the edge. And so I always recommend that you find a therapist that is open enough to hear about what you're doing with magic. So and explain to him or her what the kinds of exercises and operations that we're using are. And work maybe on some of it with your therapist, because it can be good or it cannot be good. It really depends on the person. Just like a personal trainer can help you build your body up, but if you have some kind of disability, the personal trainer shouldn't say, "Oh, well, we can just work through that." If they don't know, they really should say, "Well, let's talk to your doctor about it." And that's how I am as a magical coach, so to speak. I am not a medical professional and I'm not a psychiatrist, so there's no way for me to ever know that what we're doing is going to be good for somebody or not unless we have somebody who is an expert in that field working with that person. And then I'm happy to do this kind of stuff, but I have absolutely no way of knowing. Okay, Willow says, some things are high in my sphere of influence. Sometimes when things are high in my sphere of influence, I find that it is just as easy to take care of it in the mundane world. Like it's time to buy that thing or just start that project. Well, that's too high in your sphere of influence then. That's too high. I know that it's in my sphere of influence, say, for me to buy this major purchase too, but it's like a real stretch for me. But if I do a spell for it, then it comes more easily. I might get a windfall. Somebody might give one of those things to me. I might get a lot more work. I might get, I might win a contest where they're giving that thing away. So if it's a 10 or a 9 on my sphere of influence and it's just something I could just write a check for and it's no big deal, yeah, why bother with the magic? But if it's something that's kind of a stretch for me, it's better for me to do the magic so that it can come more easily, so I don't have to spend so much of my mundane time working on getting that thing. Now, if it's way, way out of my sphere of influence, I don't want to tackle that stuff right away. I'll write it on my list, but I want to tackle that stuff right away because it's too much of a stretch and it's going to be a strain mentally and magically for me. And I may have some failure as a result of that. And that's especially detrimental when you're first starting out with this. So if you're used to always having success with magic, you always get what you want, and there's no problem with it, then yeah, go for the stuff that's more of that's farther of a stretch. But for those of you who don't have a really good track record yet, either you're first starting out or you haven't been so good at getting this stuff to work, stick with the things that are a little closer to your sphere of influence, but are somewhat of a stretch. Don't try to bench lift the 500 pounds until you're able to use the dumbbells, the 10-pound dumbbells for a while and work up to it. Did I answer? Did I miss a question? If so, somebody can maybe unmute and tell me. Okay. Anything else? We got time if you want. Witchcraft Beyond the Basics. That's funny. Brownies for beginners. Oh goodness. Yeah. So let's see. So I think this is going to be a good week. I think you guys are going to enjoy it. Let me know if there's anything more that you want to talk about, and if not, we'll close. We'll have our little meditation, and we will let you get going with your week. And don't go reaching for your bong, unless you really want to. All right. Let's all close our eyes if we are in a place that we can do that. Relax the body and the mind. Take some deep, relaxing breaths. Let go of any excess tension. Allow our minds to relax. Seeing ourselves on the top of that beautiful mountain. Beautiful, clear mountain air. Maybe off in the distance you see a mountain stream. And we're in a circular grove of trees. all of us together. And inside the circle is a bonfire, and it's blazing forth, and it's lighting us and the grove up with just this brilliant golden light. And this fire is sacred, and it has been consecrated as the light of perfect love and perfect trust. And it gently burns away everything that's unlike itself. And we are so grateful for the time that we have spent together today, and we are looking forward to our week. Love and many blessings. Together we all say, blessed be.